Hello to all the men in our comments who say, that's cool, babe. Now make me a sandwich. You're asking the wrong person. You should be asking Tony Ferguson. I heard he makes a mean ketchup sandwich.
Or make his face a ketchup sandwich.
I'm going to turn your face into a ketchup sandwich.
I love ketchup sandwich. That insult does not land with me when they're like, go make me a sandwich. I'm like, bet. I love to make a sandwich. I make a mean sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, be nice and I'll make you three. Hello and welcome to the Sports Bimbo podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Stella K.
And I'm Nia Chai.
Okay, Nia, did you know that UFC 1 was originally meant to be the live action version of Mortal Kombat?
No, stop. Okay, enlighten me. Everybody who doesn't know UFC lore or the beginning of UFC lore, sit down, shut up, sit crisscross applesauce with me and be educated by Stella.
Literally, like, as in the video game, like in the early 90s, Horian, which that's my nickname. If you read it, it looks like Rorian. And like all the Brazilians out there, like, don't cancel me if I don't do the pronunciations correctly, but I believe that the Brazilian R is more like a H. Like Alex Pereira is, I think it's Alex Pereira.
I've been hearing that.
Horian Gracie.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
Him and his family, the Gracie family, is like responsible for bringing jiu-jitsu to America, like popularizing it. He moved to Southern California, I believe here to LA, because he wanted to be in the entertainment industry. So he met up with a guy named Artie who was in the film industry, and they came up with this idea to make Mortal Kombat in real life because they loved the video game so much.
No kidding! So they wanted to button mash in person then. That's cool.
Ripping the spines out. The whole nine.
Yeah.
They wanted to line the octagon originally. The plan was with barbed wire.
You're lying. That is... Okay, well, that is barbaric. The definition of barbaric.
There were no weight classes. Like now we have middleweight, lightweight, heavyweight. None of that.
I like that.
They had a sumo wrestler fighting a kickboxer. First match.
My name is Khabib from England, from Hawaii, as professional sumo wrestling. I'm Gerard Bordeaux. I'm a fighter of Holland, and my discipline is a fight. Kathy, what do you think?
That's crazy stuff.
The only rule, I believe, was no eye gouging. Anything else, it was like fair game, just like pummel each other. They never got the barbed wire, but it was just like, right, anybody could beat each other's asses. But they didn't have a roster. They didn't have people sign. So they put an ad out in the newspaper.
Right.
It's just like, hey, fighters, I don't know what that said. I'm just making it up.
Right.
You know, hey, come beat each other up. They got 20 responses, nothing. So they had to add a cash prize. So then they got more fighters. But I think the first one, like, they pulled it together, like, scrap.
No kidding. So we went from pulling spines out to 12 to 6s being illegal. Right. Okay. Okay, so where does Dana White fit into that situation at all? Where did he come from? Where did he spawn?
I've gone deep into the Dana White lore, and I know how he got involved in combat, but I haven't gotten as far to completely understand his role in business with the UFC, how he became the focal point. But what I do know is that his interest in combat came from being a boxing exercise coach.
Like jazzercise.
And the reason he was doing boxing jazzercise was because he was afraid of head trauma.
Well, he has a big head. It's easy to traumatize.
He was scared of a CTE, essentially, which same, valid.
Right.
But what's funny about that to me is, how is the man who was so scared of boxing that you had to be in boxercise creating Power Slap League?
Oh, that is such a good point.
Right. So I think that's where, like, a lot of the criticism, people are like, okay, you would never do this yourself, but you're saying go ahead and knock each other's block off.
Right. It is about as redneck as possible.
What do you think about Power Slap?
As much as I want to, I don't want to say suck Dana's dick, but as much as I would love to hype up Dana White so that he loves us about Power Slap, what the hell? Where did that come from? Power Slap.
I think it is something that already exists, those leagues in, like, Europe.
Have you watched, like, old YouTube videos about it? It's hilarious. All they do is just powder up their hands and smack each other. There's not really many rules.
Did you see there's one of girls smacking each other's asses?
No.
I want to be that one.
I want to be a power slap asser.
Yeah. What it's called, power ass.
Power ass. Yeah, we do have power asses.
There's no CTE.
Yeah.
Minimal damage probably to your spine. Slapping in the ass. I support that so much more than power slap. I just feel like with power slap, they're knocking each other out. They're hurting each other's necks. There's not really skill and training involved. It's just anybody hit each other as hard as
Stupid.
I think it should be banned.
No, really.
I guess. I think it's horrible. I think it's so bad for you.
It seems like an underdeveloped, like I said, hillbilly redneck sport. However, you cannot lie. That is so entertaining to watch people just smack the shit out of each other.
I
I
actually have power slap blocked on all social.
No, you do not.
Because they kept doing collab posts with UFC, and I'm like, this is not what I'm here for. So I'm sorry, Dana, but I blocked power slap.
That is your popular opinion, though. Pretty much everybody hates power slap that I've heard of, other than the fighters who want to be in Dana White's good graces. They'll say, yeah, it's totally sick that this barbaric slapping each other in the face. These bitch slapping tournaments are cool.
I know, and I know Nina is helping him make it cool. She promotes it a lot and makes it very much like, like an influencer thing to be out in the middle there. And I'm like, oh, am I just not cool because I hate power slap?
I want to see Donald Trump and a bunch of big celebrities sit front row at power slap.
No, I want to see Dana White be a contestant on power slap with Donald Trump.
They're perfect. They're in the same weight class.
I don't know exactly how it came to be Dana in the UFC. I know the origins of UFC. I know the origins of Dana. But what I do know is that Dana White is a Leo.
Oh, brother. My dad's a Leo.
Leos love attention. So it makes perfect sense how he's just at the forefront and the center of his own promotion. Remember when he debuted as a ring girl?
Okay, let's pull up this video right now. Dana White! That is the peak of his career. It is only downhill from there.
Dana is actually an icon.
He's an icon.
The way he talks to the press is hilarious.
He's a character, and I appreciate somebody that's an entertainer, and you know what? He doesn't have to be, but he is so freaking entertaining. We watched a compilation the other day of Dana White's most aggressive moments, I should say, on TV. Him just complaining about everybody. Oh, and what's the shirt worn by Tito Ortiz?
For the weigh-ins at UFC 84, he wore a shirt that said, Dana White is my bitch. And no disrespect to Dana, but it's so sick. I want it so bad. Pull it up.
I would wear that to a black tie event. We actually have to. We need to wear those.
How clean that is.
We need to sell those.
We also could do Dana is my daddy.
Dana Daddy. Daddy Dana.
He's also iconic for the meme of Stitch Duran was never my friend. I don't know if you remember that one. I don't even know the extent of what that beef was. It's before my time, but it's just so funny. It's just any bitch that you ever worked with that is not really your friend. You're like, no, baby, you got it twisted.
Right.
We only work together. That was very much the energy he was giving.
It was very personal. I think he was saying, what was he saying? He needs to learn a thing or two about friendship. He was never my friend.
Stitch Duran needs to learn what the meaning of the word friend is. Stitch Duran and I were never friends. We were work associates. We came up together in the boxing world, and when we hired Cutman, he was one of the guys that I brought in here. Friends are people you call on the phone, you hang out with, you talk to all the time. Don House, who's one of our Cutmen, he and I were very close and still are, but Stitch Duran was never my friend.
Did they come up together in the boxing jazzercise world?
That hurt me. I felt the knife in my chest.
Can you imagine hearing that about yourself?
I would be crying. See, this is why I could never be a man and work in that type of industry, simply for the reason that Dana White would destroy my confidence if he would just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and said that about me. He was never my friend.
What do you mean?
Oh my goodness.
If Dana White said that about me today and I don't even know Dana White, I would cry.
No, I would cry.
Stella K was...
I'm crying for him.
Stella K was never my friend.
Stella K was... I need a shirt that says Stella K was never my friend. You need one that says Nia Chai was never my friend. That's funny.
That's going to be us at the end of this podcast season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be like, no, we're just
Could you imagine? We're just coworkers. We have no interest in each other. I don't mean to talk shit about Dana White, by the way. Dana, you're not my bitch. You're daddy.
Don't cancel us. We want to cover UFC. We want to be there. We want the invites. We love you. We love everything you're doing.
Don't ban us. I love you, Uncle.
I don't want to get banned like Ariel Helwani. If I was banned from all of UFC like Ariel Helwani, I don't think I could cover it. My rejection sensitivity would be too strong. I would be so sad. Watching everyone else at the apex while you're at home on your keyboard,
With your tail tucked between your legs.
knowing that
So sad. Knowing that Dana White is getting oiled up and I don't get to be there.
and knowing that Dana White hates your guts.
Hates your
Why does he hate him so much anyway?
So, well, first of all, if you've ever seen that beautiful Jewish man interview, he is aggressive. He's pushy. It's like he looks into Dana's eyes and he's trying to make him see red. He absolutely loves to be polarizing and confrontational. So that's number one, right? Like, he's so annoying. Again, I just feel like Dana White wakes up on the wrong side of the bed some days. Obviously, he has his reasons to not like Ariel Helwani. If you watch him interview, he is really annoying to watch sometimes. He has very polarizing questions, like I said. But the reason why he got kicked out that one time by the PR manager is because he announced 2 very important fights right before they were officially announced. And you know what those 2 fights were?
What?
These are big. Now, in hindsight, they were big at the time, but in hindsight, they're even bigger now. It was DC and John Jones 2, which is huge. He announced that, and then it was Mark Hunt and Brock Lesnar. Oh, 2 fights. Huge fights. All big fighters right there. Announced them before Dana White officially announced them, and that, I guess, sent Dana White over the edge. And they had the PR manager come and kick him out. This was in like 2016, so this was 8 years ago. And he was not banned forever. It was lifted very shortly after.
What a messy little bitch.
He is super messy for that. Well, that's the thing. If you've ever heard Chael Sonnen talk about this, there are certain reporters that used to be very big in the space, and now they're not given insider information anymore because of people like Ariel Helwani, who announces things ahead of time. He is one of the things that burned Dana White's trust for these reporters.
Yeah, that's giving very much TMZ. So it's like, if you want to be involved, like, you don't tell people secrets. I know a lot of people's secrets from wrestling world and fight world, and if you want anyone to trust you, you don't spill the tea.
Right, absolutely. And it wouldn't be worth it anyways. You're working for this huge corporation. You're trusted by the president of the UFC with this information, this little golden nugget of information, and you're going to blow that for 30 seconds of clout. I don't even know if he got any big traction off of those announcements. They probably just thought, okay, some random reporter is telling us about these fights.
Yeah, I'll let them announce it first, then talk about it, you know?
Right. But
Whatever.
Speaking on those, because obviously I love John Jones.
Yes.
He's one of my favorite fighters. He was actually my number 1 favorite fighter until 300, and then I was like, okay, I need to move Alex Pereira up on the roster. He's my number 1. Woo! Go Peloton. And then my number 2 is John Jones. And then I'd say probably Chimaev is my 3rd. So that's my little roster of my favorite fighters right now. Do you have a list of favorite fighters? Who are your favorites to watch?
This is going to be weird for me to say, especially as like passionate as I am about MMA and UFC. But I feel so much like I have very much the energy like, I hope both teams have fun. Like, I love everyone so much for different reasons. Unless you're like a shit fighter or you're just like really boring. I love so much the entertaining characters because I do have so much background in wrestling. I know some people talk shit about that, where like, you know, it's not about the show and you're just getting pushed because you're a character and you get views in the presser. But I like that stuff. That stuff is engaging as long as you can back it up with a good fight. So I love like Sean O'Malley, you know, anyone that's giving a good, entertaining time.
That's why Conor McGregor was the golden child, because he just knows how to be an entertainer, and he's a great fighter at the same time. And I think that's definitely why, like you said, Sean O'Malley is going to be he already is so big. But he is an excellent fighter. He's not my favorite. I don't like his entertainment presence. It's a little bit much for me, but it sells.
I like it. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that I'm constantly getting excited about different times. I don't feel like it's very static. Like, this is always my number 1, 2, and 3. I say Brock Lesnar a lot just to piss people off because they get so mad every time I say that. So you always make your content like always ranking him number 1 just because it's so funny to me because of the wrestling crossover. I did work with him before.
Oh, but he's so cool.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't think it's really true. It's just something that I like to say. But I just like so many people. Sometimes I'm really excited about Bo Nickel, or I'm really excited about Share a Bullet, which we haven't seen from him. He's like the Dagestani one-eyed guy.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, like I would get excited about new people, up-and-coming people.
Yeah.
It's always rotating what I'm excited about. I don't know who's like my number 1 at all time.
I feel like you live in the present too, as do I, where whatever fight is coming up next, I'm like, yay, I'm so excited about these particular fighters, and everybody else, I'll just worry about when they fight again. I'm the same exact way. Whatever fight is happening next is my favorite fight. But we should go back for a second because you just talked about how you worked with Brock Lesnar. Can we get some lore on wrestling? Hello, Stella. For anybody who doesn't know, Stella has been in this world for over a decade. It's crazy.
Well, not over a decade.
Right?
Like 7 years.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought it was like
Almost
10
a
years.
decade.
Almost a decade. Oh, okay, my bad.
That dates me a little more. I think we'll definitely have some of that eventually.
Whoa!
The Ric Flair woo.
I love him. I love him. I have a good story about him, actually.
I do too. I work with him also. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, all right.
I have raging ADHD, and I have the little memory of a goldfish. So when people ask me on the spot, I'm always like, I don't know, I love everybody. So I really have to like think about it. Like, who do I really love? I love Charles Oliveira. I'm obsessed with him. I think you can't talk about UFC without talking about GSP. Big Nate Diaz fan. Love the Diaz brothers in general in their prime. So iconic. One of the first UFC fighters that I ever remember even noticing or having interest in was, I didn't fully watch it because I was like a little kid, but I remember like seeing stuff here and there, and it was Tito Ortiz. He just looked so cool, like very Y2K, sick ground and pound like game. Just it was the quintessential like MMA vibe at the time, like the tap out shirt,
Right.
like the Rockin' Republic jeans,
Right.
bleached hair, the Huntington Beach bad boy. Like I think that was my first little peak of interest of like UFC. Like it seemed he is like what made it seem cool to me. So shout out Tito Ortiz.
He popped your MMA cherry, kind
Yeah,
of.
that was like any introduction that I had was the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz.
That's awesome.
This pisses people off, and I've said it before, but I think Brock Lesnar is so funny.
He is so funny.
But he's good. Like he was good. He wasn't bad. Like CM Punk came to UFC and was terrible.
You said it.
We'll talk more about that some other time. But Brock Lesnar was good. And I know this is controversial, but I am one of the people that I do believe that Khabib belongs in the GOAT conversation.
Absolutely. I don't even know why that is controversial. Come on.
It's controversial because people say that he fought a lot of people who had no MMA wins. Basically, he's fighting cans, he's fighting nobodies, and that he retired too early. But there's no way this guy is not an elite fighter. He never took damage.
He's also, 29 and 0?
Yeah.
That's an insane record. There's no way that you could argue or convince me that every single one of those fighters were nobodies. Nobody's getting 29 and 0. That's crazy. That's incredible, right?
Well, if he's not an elite level fighter, then how come anytime anyone new and exciting comes into the game, they get compared to Khabib? Why did they rename them? Like, I think it was Bo Nickel. They named him Hillbilly Khabib.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think it was American Khabib or something. Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah,
I think Michael Bisping is the one who coined it or something like that.
Yeah, that's always somebody Khabib.
Yeah.
Why would they say that if he's not one of the best?
Right. That's a compliment. They're not saying that as an insult. They're saying you are just as good as this amazing Dagestani man, which is incredible, which we could talk about Dagestanis as well. I need to breed with one so my sons can be in the UFC by the age of 11.
There seems to be like gang warfare where there's people like, if they either love or hate Dagestani fighters, or they're only about the Brazilian. I like them all. I appreciate all of it. Maybe I just don't know enough of the lore why anyone is so divided.
Right.
The Dagestanis are incredible fighters.
Incredible.
The work ethic is insane. Like they're out there like training in the snow at like 8 years old.
You know what? That might be it. It's the same way with a lot of like Russians, and you can see the same with Brazilians in a different way. But definitely with the Dagestanis, I think hard work and determination takes you much farther than natural talent will, because you could be born super naturally talented, and for some reason you could just wrestle a light pole to the ground by the age of 3. But if you are actually working towards something and you're training constantly, you are going to far surpass the person who's just sitting around waiting for their talent to kick in. That's the Dagestani.
I love a Dagestani fighter. I love a Brazilian fighter. I love a Mexican fighter. I love a good old America. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I love it all. So I don't get all the division, but
No.
maybe that's the bimbo in me where I'm just, I hope both teams have fun. I just love this sport.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are all doing such a great job in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I would love it if someone would call me Thought Khabib. I want a shirt, Thought Khabib.
Thought Khabib. I want Bimbo Khabib. That would be an honor. I would love to be compared to Khabib in any capacity at all.
Right. So how can you say someone isn't a GOAT when they're kind of the standard that we use to describe people?
Right. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree on that.
Feel free to change our mind, someone in the comments. Give us some engagement.
Right. Change our minds.
Have you seen the tweet that was going around where it says she's a 10, but she believes that Khabib belongs in the GOAT conversation?
She's a 12. She's a 13 out of 10. Come on.
That's me right now. Maybe I'm an LA 5, but I'm an Ohio 10. For sure. And I think that Khabib belongs in the GOAT conversation.
I completely agree. And normally, so Stella has much more moderate takes on fighters, but I am the same as a lot of other fight fans where it's like I extremely love them or I extremely hate them with like no in between. And even I agree. Khabib he's goated. Come on.
Okay, but who do you hate? Wait. Tell me who you hate.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I used to have a big list of them, but then I started watching, as we did together, I started watching more fight interviews with these guys, or I would look at their records and be like, you know what? I only hate them for what I have perceived in the present. That's how I am. I don't go back and watch a lot of old fights. It's just whenever I started watching MMA, whatever, 4 years ago, I'm a very recent fight fan.
Sorry, we didn't come out
Relatively, yeah,
watching
sorry.
UFC 1.
My bad. But yeah, no. So I started out only like 4 years ago watching fights. So I didn't even see a lot of the biggest fighters in their prime or anything. I still have to touch up on my fight lore and all things like that. However, in the present, the two fighters, oh my gosh, are Lard, Derek Lewis, D-Lou. I cannot stand watching him fight. I cannot stand it. He's a great heavyweight, but he's a slow fighter. He cannot get a takedown for the life of him. And then when he does, it takes 10 years to get up. But his record is insane. He's actually a really talented fighter. And Stella and I were watching a couple fight interviews the other day with him. Not only is he like hilarious, but he's like a teddy bear. He's endearing. He's a sweet guy. So I like want to take it back. I like Derek Lewis now after watching those. Like he's a sweetie pie, and he's actually really, really talented. Like I said,
He was giving very much big teddy bear, cuddly energy. What is it called? Gentle giant. He was
yes,
giving
he is a gentle giant. And then what was the one he said? This was spicy, where they asked him what he was doing after the fight, and he said, "I'm gonna throw my wife's legs up in the air."
Ah. Back to the Khabib thing real quick, just to circle back to that.
Yeah.
That tweet, when it went around, even though I'm joking saying it was about me, it kind of bothered me reading the comments. And I know it's just jokes, like, I'm not soft, guys, but all these guys were like, oh, she's canceled then. Breaking up with her, I'm calling the date off. Like, be fucking for real.
AFFR, what does that spell, you guys? Yeah.
I, as a girl, as a woman, have had the hardest time even finding other girlfriends who watch MMA. A lot of girls aren't super into UFC. So if you found a girl, I mean, I'm being too literal.
Who watches UFC at all?
She's a fucking dime.
Yeah, she is already a dime piece.
Yes, even if she thinks that Brock Lesnar is and even if she thinks that CM Punk is the best UFC fighter of all time, you have a bad bitch to watch the fights with.
Right.
Hang on to that. It's my dream. And it sounds like I'm lying, like people don't believe me, but like I have not been able to find a guy to watch the fights with. I mostly watch them alone.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
So like to have someone that has the same hyperfixations as you, like that seems so fun.
That's very special. As I got older, not to get into relationship stuff right now, but as I got older, I started realizing why people value common interests so much, because when you do get older, it is isolating. It is hard to find people to hang out with. It's hard to find for men that are interested in the same things as us. And that's saying a lot, because men are, I don't know the percentage, but like 95% of fight fans, right? So if a man, the opposite way around, can find a
7%.
Oh, wow. That's really low. Compared to what I thought, it's 77%.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
77%.
Hi, ladies. There's more of you than I thought.
It's not yelling on the internet. It's scary out there.
That must be what it's because the men are so loud in the space that I don't even realize there are women in the space. Thank you for educating me on that.
The fight fans have made it a really hostile environment for women to enjoy this. I think there's a lot of quiet enjoyers or who like do have the luxury of getting into it through their boyfriend or with their boyfriend. So they're not necessarily in the like online community. The online community is terrifying for women. I had to get really tough like in this space. Now I can handle it. It's all jokes. It's whatever. But if you didn't know that and you just like the sport and you're like, let me log on to x.com today to talk about this fight I just watched, they're going to be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, don't do it.
Make me a sandwich.
Right. And that's funny because even though Stella and I will comment on our personal pages and they don't know that we have any big interest in MMA the way that we do, especially Stella, she'll comment under just a random UFC post and she'll get the most attention, number one. Of course, tons of people calling her beautiful. But most of the reception, I've seen a couple. I can pull up a couple. But before you're like, no, that doesn't happen. It does. It does. Okay, well, you're hyper-focusing. But yeah, that is true. There's so many comments who are just responding to her just being sexist.
Yeah.
For no reason. She's not saying anything crazy. She's a very moderate presence usually. She doesn't say anything incredibly controversial at all. Normally, she'll just write one sentence and all of the replies to her comment are, go make me a sandwich, what do you know? Or commenting on how she looks or commenting on how her relationship with men must be, which makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. I'm like a slut all of a sudden. I'll be like, great fight. I'm like all wholesome. Logging around to the internet today. That was a great fight, guys. You sucked 85 dicks. And you deserve to die. What does your dad think about it?
Yeah, no. Have you ever actually gotten death threats before?
Yes, and rape threats. Yes.
From this specific topic, from you being in the space?
Yes.
Okay, so there we go. That's why I thought that 95% of fight fans were male, because that is scary.
It would scare a lot of women away. When I first started working in combat, I had no idea coming from wrestling. And I thought that the wrestling fans were scary, which in hindsight, they're not. MMA is much more intense. And at first, not knowing that, there was a period where I kind of backed off from it online because I was just like, this is a lot to deal with. But then I just, over time, it's so fun. Like the jokes part of it, like memes are 5-star. Like that community is hilarious and they're so quick after the fight. It was hard for me to resist engaging with it. And I just learned to like not value the crazy shit or not give it energy or sometimes just throw it right back. I got kind of good at throwing it back. They toughen me up, the MMA fans. I will say that. You can't be soft in this space.
You cannot be soft. You have to have thick skin.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't even mind it all that much because it is a very simple mindset. They're just making memes. They're making jokes. They're not really thinking about offending people other than the ones who actually come for you. But if you get into the space and you're just viewing all the memes that people make, it is so controversial. There is so much controversy, and it could be really offensive to somebody who's just coming into the space not understanding what the vibe is.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. If you're very much into like very like social justice warrior kind of like woke stuff like that, and you stumble across, like there'll be tweets sometimes like, MMA Twitter hit the mainstream, like someone will catch on to it and they're so upset and you'll see it and you're like, baby, don't even waste your energy.
Don't even waste your energy.
You're not going to ever get through to these guys. You're not going to change their mind. Now you're just yelling and people are yelling at you and there's just no point to it.
And of course you're going to be screaming and they are screaming over you. So it's just going to be a Twitter battle.
They're never going to be like, you know what, I see your point. It'll never happen. So for me, I just learned to kind of either ignore it if I don't want to give it the energy or engage if I think it's funny. But I started throwing it right back and not being bothered. And I feel like I kind of got more respect that way. You know, sometimes they'll be like, haha, good one, or, you know, whatever.
Right.
I think someone said, this was a Ryan Garcia post. I made the comment, I said, Ryan versus the Demons round 1. And someone responded to me. They were like, you versus the calories round 1,000. And then I wrote back, the calories won and went straight to my ass. Next caller.
Next caller. That's a really good response.
And then everybody started chiming and they're like, good one. You know, and then they'll give you your props, your respect if you just throw it back and you got a good one. So you just got to toughen up. It's like having a bunch of brothers.
Right. Absolutely. It is. Absolutely. And a lot of them, once you have broken that barrier, they will accept you after that. And usually be very kind to you. And that actually is very relevant to the name of our podcast, Sports Bimbo. We're reclaiming the word bimbo because we're getting called it all the time in the space. And sure, I'll be a bimbo.
I will say though, there's no excuse for like the death threats, the rape threats, like all that.
Oh, no, of course not.
Like that's a subsection, but sometimes they are the loudest, and that can be the scariest. It's, the little incels, but not everybody is like that.
The incels, that is the word for it, yes.
But yeah, so the bimbo name and all that's a good point. Is when I was working in combat sports, I was the only woman in the entire company, and I was actually the content director. So I was the boss. I was the one deciding all of the content, which a lot of that was fine as long as there was like a male voice or face attached to it, even though they were all my ideas. The second it was my face, like on camera doing a prediction or anything, suddenly I was like the stupidest bitch on the planet. Everything was dumb. Everything sucked. And I got a lot of make me a sandwich, bimbo, you're just thirst trapping. So when I had the idea for Sports Bimbo, I'm like, what? Like, okay, sure, but let's make it fun. Like, cute girls who like sports, and we'll make a sandwich. Like, it's okay. And I got a lot of casual, which is funny because it's true. I might not know everything. I've never claimed to know everything.
Right.
But technically, at the end of the day, that was my job. I was professional combat sports content director, deciding for like many different verticals, all the content that goes out. So I was living, breathing fights, every press conference, every fight. I'm up different hours so I could watch fights all over the world. So that's not technically a casual.
When I talk about you to other fight fans, I live in Vegas, fight capital, so everybody I know there, men especially, are always super into fights, and I love gushing about Stella. I always say, you know more than any man that I know. You would put their knowledge to shame, absolutely. I'm sure there's things that we don't know. We haven't been alive for 50 years and haven't seen the inception of everything. But I'm the same exact way. I would be probably an insanely casual viewer to some and maybe an expert to others.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So they would say, oh, casual, which I don't think that's necessarily true, but I don't know everything. I'll own that. I'm not ever going to claim to know everything. And I'm really bad at like the math of it all.
I'm bad with records and statistics. Yeah.
I'm not like, I like thoughts and vibes. I mean, for work, I did what I had to do. But for myself, the way that I view and perceive fights might be very different than the way a man does. And that's okay. But the thing about the casual thing is, why is that such an insult? I'm like, who cares?
Who cares?
If you are watching these fights and you're enjoying and you want to engage, that's cool. Like, you should be allowed to. So that I kind of wanted us to have that vibe where it doesn't have to be so scary. If you just want to have a good time and watch fights, I don't care if you know everything. I don't know everything.
Right.
Just watch some people beat the shit out of each other.
And it offers a new perspective, too, which is interesting because you obviously have more knowledge than I do. So then when I first started watching, it's a new perspective to you. Everything that I know is a new perspective because I didn't see anything before 4 years ago, really. And then the people who came before you, they offer a new perspective to you about what they've seen and the fighters that they've witnessed in their time. So I think it's kind of interesting, actually, if we met more casual viewers, especially girls who might be entering the space now because of us.
I would love to introduce girls into this for the first time. So I don't want it to be so scary. Like, okay. Like, congratulations. There are people who have encyclopedic knowledge of everything, and good for them. That's some people's bag, like, to get into, and that's very fun for them.
That's super cool. I wish I had that memory.
But why do we have to shut up? Like, who was born knowing all that stuff? Some people grew up with it, like their dad watched it with them and stuff, and that's so cool, but like not all of us have that experience.
That actually might be a lot of people, now that you mention it, a lot of people grew up, especially with wrestling as well, but with when UFC, seeing that with their dads or their family. So yeah, maybe there's a lot of people who...
Yeah, so there's definitely people that know way more, and that is totally cool, but I just think, like, let's get over everyone that doesn't agree on a take, like calling each other casual. Like, it's the worst thing in the world. And
it's lame, and it's going to make people not want to enter the space, and we want this to be a bigger sport, don't we? Yeah. More opportunities.
Right. I don't care if you're, like, at a sports bar and you're just seeing it for the first time and you're like, whoa, that's cool. Like, who's who? Like, who?
Right.
Are you really gonna be like, shut the fuck up, casual?
Right. That was me. My first time watching it is I felt awkward about it, but I enjoyed watching because it's two manly men just smashing each other. Pause. But
no diddy.
No diddy. We're just going to town on each other. Pause. And that is like the coolest sport in the world to me. Everything else, obviously the UFC specifically has a lot of rules, but like football or any other sport is not as charged as that is. It's not as aggressive. That is the most interesting sport for me to watch. And I was never allowed to ask questions in the beginning because of that too. Getting into the sport was super intimidating because I felt like there was so much going on. Like there's so many different fighters, and it's not like a big football team. It's just one singular person. There's a lot to know about their backstory, their fights, what they've done before. And I feel like girls would feel the same exact way going into the sport as I did, where men are just going to brush you off and say, oh, well, you're a girl. You're not going to be interested in this anyways. Why would I bother trying to teach you anything about this?
Yeah, and I also think it's okay as a girl, as a woman, to view it differently. I used to have kind of guilt about that in the beginning of my combat sports career because I could tell that the men were watching it in a very different way than I was, where I'm noticing things that they wouldn't notice, like about the way that they look or
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, like the way that their shorts are, like their haircut, like, you know. And that made me feel like shamed, like shameful. Like that's so silly of me. Like I can never say that. But you know what? I am a woman. Why should I pretend to have the brain of a man that I only notice what a man is noticing?
Right.
I'm a woman. I'm okay with being a woman. I'm gonna lean into that, even if no one has done that before, and we're the first. Like, it's okay if we seem silly to a guy because I'm not a man and I don't want to be.
Right.
So why do I have to think like one?
Absolutely.
I love watching fights. I respect the skill. I think fight culture is about discipline. I think there's so much talent involved. Your fight camp is important. I love all that. I do love knowing, like, you know, how many significant strikes someone has landed.
Right.
I love the lore. I love the personalities. I love the entertainment.
Seeing it from a feminine perspective is pretty cool. There's so many commentators who focus very deadpan and monotone on statistics and numbers and just going over all the jabs and everything. Not to bash on them. I love watching them, of course. But to have some whimsical other perspective where we're noticing those little things, like especially the personalities, what they're wearing, things like that, that also make very good memes when you notice all those little things. That a lot. I think that brings a lot to the space. It brings a lot to the sport altogether.
So I'm giving up the shame about that. You guys be men. You guys can tell me all the math. Mansplain it to me. I don't care. But let me enjoy the fights the way that I enjoy them, and let that be okay. You know? And let it be okay for other girls. Like, let's not stop having it be scary, because then you guys can stop. There's a lot of like memes about guys who like trick their girlfriends into watching UFC. Like, oh, I told her we're going out to catch steak, but really we're going to watch UFC. And the girl's like, if it's a less scary and it's a more fun thing to do, then you will have those baddies that you don't have to trick them, and then you're living your dreams. Let's get the girls in. Like, why do you want to just be around a bunch of dudes?
Absolutely. Yeah, pause on that. Wouldn't every guy in the space want to,
I mean, unless that's your vibes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Unless that's your vibe, of course. But all of the men who are in the space who are looking to be with women, wouldn't you want more women in the space? Wouldn't that be cool to organically meet another person, another woman who is into the same exact thing as you, and you can watch together? That's romantic. Every Saturday night, cuddled up together?
Or maybe not. They're going to listen to this podcast and be like, you know, actually, I don't want any bitches yapping.
After this yap fest, maybe not.
I'm like, actually, just invite the bros over because I need a break from the yapping. But that's okay, because we can have all girl watch parties. We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere.
I love it. So you're gonna have to deal with it, and it's a good thing because women spend a lot of money, and I think Daddy Dana would like.
Daddy Dana would love that. That's also double the tickets. I mean, when I look at fights in Vegas, it's like $4,000 per seat. There you go, double it up.
And then merch, we'll buy all the merch.
Oh, of course. Women are the best consumers ever. They're the biggest consumers. So they would be loving all the little T-shirts and everything.
Yeah, you're going to have to let us rock, guys.
Right. We're good for the space.
Yeah. The bimbo portion of this brand might not be a joke. I think I'll have a lot of bimbo moments on this podcast. I'm just going to say it now. I'm going to own it now. I'm a bit of a bimbo. Let's keep it 100. I mean, I'm very smart, but I'm very dumb. I don't know what it is. But I remember one time, it was my very first like live interview in the combat space. Gabriel Gonzalez, shout out at Double Gone TV. He's a real one. And he asked me something so simple. He asked me, what's your favorite weight class? Like, okay, like we know what weight classes are. Featherweight, light, heavyweight, middleweight. Like I could say them all out, but for some reason I was just so nervous on camera with this guy who's, you know, knows way more than I do. I just froze. My brain, like, no thoughts, just vibes. I was just like, I couldn't think of a single weight class.
You were just nervous. I do the same exact thing. Like when I am put under pressure, it doesn't work out for me. I know a lot of people thrive under pressure, not me. Brain empty. Like
I was completely outside of my body. Like I was watching myself across the room. But the question was, do you want to tell us some of your favorite weight classes to watch? And my answer was no.
Would you want to tell us about your favorite weight class?
No.
Oh.
That must have been so awkward for him.
My bad. Sorry for asking. Is that a sensitive subject for you? We'll move on. Yeah.
No.
No, I don't want to tell you about my favorite weight class because I don't know any of them.
I wish I had Sports Bimbo then. I wish I was in, because I could just lean into it. Like, but at the time, it was still very much when I was like trying to impress all the boys, trying to see fights from their perspective and relay the information in the same way.
And trying not to look casual. So there's a lot of pressure. I understand that.
Hold it. I said no.
No. Honestly, that's a pretty good segue. If you just really don't want to talk, I'm going to use that on you. If you say, so could you tell me more about this? No. And then I'm just going to start talking about what I want to talk about.
It ends the story quickly. He moved right on to the next point, so that was great. Like he was on it.
He's a good interviewer.
We never spoke about it again. I kept me up for 3 nights after that. Like I couldn't sleep. I wanted the ground to just like open up and swallow me whole. I contemplated quitting my job. I was like, I shouldn't be here. I'm done. I don't know the weight classes.
I'd be staring at the ceiling and just crying every second.
I was in the mirror like, you idiot.
Yeah, in the shower, arguing with myself, making up a new answer that I could have told him. Yeah.
You know that meme where it's like the guy looking in the mirror? It's like an illustration, like pointing in the mirror. I was like, you know the weight classes. You know what they're called. You know your favorite weight class is middleweight.
Is it actually?
Yes.
Okay.
I love middleweight.
Okay, so I had a very similar situation, and unfortunately, it was kind of recently. And it's because of Conor McGregor coming back. So listen, I became a fight fan like 4 years ago around that. And Conor McGregor stopped fighting very shortly after I got into the sport. And I was kind of casual the first year that I was watching it. And then it just became real serious after that. So pretty much the entire time Conor was finishing off fights in like 2021, I want to say, I wasn't really paying all that much attention to him. You can't really ignore him, of course. He's Conor McGregor. Right. But like I said, I live in the present with my fight knowledge. I know anybody listening is going to shut this off immediately and go, wow, there's levels to this. And she knows the bare minimum. But I thought for some reason that this little leprechaun, is that racist? Can I say leprechaun?
I'm so sorry to the Irish people.
I'm so sorry.
No, I don't think leprechaun is real. A leprechaun is a leprechaun. It's just a short stature, like, Irish legend. It's like saying chupacabra, like, Mexican.
Okay, which he is a leprechaun.
or chupacabra.
Or whatever you want to be, baby. No, so I thought that little leprechaun was a heavyweight for some reason. This was like a recent thing. This was like 2 years ago, I want to say. And everybody was talking about him. And I mentioned casually that he was a heavyweight because in my head, he's big and powerful. And listen, he's the biggest in the space, blah, blah, blah. And they were talking about him eventually coming back maybe, or maybe he's just going to stay retired because, you know, he has a million kids and his wife. And I was like, yeah, I mean, heavyweight's my favorite division, so I would love to see him come back and fight so-and-so. And it was as if the entire world turned upside down.
What did you say this to?
Everybody in the room is just like...
You said this to a whole room?
I said it to... It was a group of my friends who were interested in MMA, and they were all way more into it than I was. I want to say most of it was guys, too, so it was... I was clowned on relentlessly. To this day, I still am clowned on about it. But I mean, it makes sense. He's a powerful man. I thought he was a big, powerful man. No, he's not. Well, he is a powerful man, but he's a leprechaun. So that's my little story about being a sports bimbo. Sports bimbo.
All right. Well, that is it for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Sports Bimbo podcast brought to you by the Bespoke Network.
Whoop, whoop. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, all our other socials at Sports Bimbo. And please leave us a 5-star glowing review wherever you get your podcasts. I'll miss you. Bye for now.